Hello there, good morning and welcome again to Market Insight for a Friday, TGIF. I am David Chiedu. It's indeed lovely to have you join us again on today's edition. We are having a discussion on food inflation this morning on the program. Now, it's been really harrowing for most Nigerians to afford staple food lately due to the astronomical prices of these commodities occasioned by rising inflation. Now, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation in July of 2023 stood at 26.98%, an increase of 1.73% from the figure recorded in the previous month of June of that self-same 2023. However, 12 months later, food inflation has risen by 13.89% points from 26.98% recorded just exactly a year ago to 40.87% in June of 2024. Now, the rise in food inflation is mostly propelled by the increase in staple food prices. And as a matter of fact, in the past year, prices of food items have doubled, with some reaching as much as 160% during the period. Now, the price of rice, beans, eggs, fish, garri, yam, sweet potato, plantain, maize, and other grains have seen an over 100% increase year on year. Now, this, of course, is according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, the question is, where does this leave traders and consumers alike? How are they dealing with it? And exactly what is the way forward at this point in time? We'll discuss these and more on today's edition of Market Insight as we examine food inflation in Nigeria. Not alone, by the way, my co-anchor, Lovina Emma, is here with me this morning on Market Insight. Hello, Lovina, TGIF.
Hello, David, and it's good to have you on the program. It's a beautiful day, a beautiful Friday morning. And like you mentioned, this food inflation is something that we should all be concerned about because this is July and food inflation is at 40%. I mean, everyone should be very worried.
Absolutely.
Very, very worried.
And what the authorities are doing is left to be seen. I mean, some efforts have been made so far, but, the situation is still more or less the same. The strides have been slow, or if you like, the effects have been slow. But, I mean, we can all just keep our fingers crossed and hope that sooner than later, Nigerians would, benefit from the efforts being made so far to curb food inflation.
Yes, the government needs to work extremely hard to combat this. I mean, especially for low-income families, this is something that is affecting everybody, especially them. Even though, yes, we had the announcement that the minimum wage has been increased to 70,000 naira. But in spite of this, people are still complaining of the prices of these staple food items. And it makes us wonder what's going to eventually happen to children, especially consuming imported nutrients that they need for consumption to be able to grow very well. What's going to happen to our future? Because these children are our future. Well, these and so much more are what we're going to be discussing on today's episode of Market Insights. Now, let's talk about the stock market this week. Yes, we had some mixed reactions. Mixed closures this week from Monday 15th July to Thursday 18th July. Well, trading activities are still taking place on the floor of the stock exchange right now, so we can't talk about Friday. But transactions on the floor of the stock exchange as of Thursday, July 18th closed on a positive note. The all-share index appreciated by 0.47%, settling at 100,503 points from the previous close of 100,032 points. Now, this brings the year-to-date to 34.28%, the month-to-date to 0.45%, and the week-to-date to 0.84% respectively. The market capitalization closed at an aggregate of over 56 trillion naira with 391 million units of shares traded in 8,968 deals. And these deals were valued at over 8 trillion naira. Well, surprisingly, the market's breadth closed negative as 24 equities gained and 29 equities declined in share prices. Now, the reason the market's breadth closed negative is because of the number of equities that's gained and the number of equities that declined. So 24 equities gained which was less than the number of equities that declined. That's 29 equities. And our top gainers and our top decliners this week. So our top gainers this week, we have UCAP that has gained at 9.92%. Owando also gained at 9.76%. And Learn Africa. So these are new companies apart from Owando, but Learn Africa and RT Briscoe. We haven't seen them on the top gainers list in a while. UCAP at 9.92%, Owando at 9.76%, and Learn Africa 9.83%, which was quite good for them. Now, our top decliners this week, we have Veritas Capital at 10.00%, Lincolnshire at 10.00%, Vitafoam, and surprisingly, Zenith Bank was also amongst the top decliners this week at 7.00%. So these are our top gainers and top decliners this week. So I believe the mixed reaction this week on Monday, the markets closed positive. Tuesday was also positive, but on Wednesday, it closed on a negative note, must have affected the share prices of these companies who are the top decliners this week. That's Veritas Capital, Lincolnshire, Vitafoam, and Zenith Bank. So that's just an update of the stock market this week, how trading fared from Monday to Thursday. Hopefully, we can discuss Friday's trading activities on Monday. That's next week, Monday, when we return to the program.
As we mentioned earlier, we are examining food inflation in the country, which is essentially responsible for the hike in prices of staple food. I mentioned, some examples earlier: rice, beans, eggs, sweet potatoes, plantain, and the rest of them. These are things that we, get on a daily basis to be able to put food on our table, if you like, or to enjoy some good nutrition, as you were. But for some reason, it's been difficult lately because Nigerians have seen their purchasing power dwindle over time. And, the resultant effect is them, or us, let me put it that way, not being able to adequately afford these things. That's exactly what we're talking about today. What exactly does it mean with these figures, these new figures we're seeing? It's a lot of numbers and some people don't understand them. That's exactly why we are here and why we're shedding the beaming the spotlight on the conversation vis-a-vis those figures and what they mean for traders, what they mean for the stakeholders in the agri sector, what they mean for the consumers, you and I who buy these things on a daily basis. That's exactly what we're talking about. We've got some experts joining us in the studio to talk about these issues and more. We've got an architect and an agro entrepreneur, Oluwaseun Obadan, joins us in the studio this morning. Good morning, Oluwaseun.
Good morning, David.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And also we have got Mr. Oluwatosin, beg your pardon, Oladetan. He is a public policy expert, a business strategist, corporate strategist, and business transformation advisor, as well as a financial analyst. Oluwatosin, Oladetan, thank you for joining us. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning. I can hear you clearly. Good morning.
If
Can you hear me?
have your device on mute, can you kindly unmute your device, please?
Yeah, my device is unmuted. Can you hear me clearly?
You loud and clear. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Oladetan. But we're going to start with you, Ms. Obadan. In your view as a stakeholder player, as a sector player, beg your pardon, and a stakeholder in the agri sector, you're an agro entrepreneur. With the figures coming out and with the current trend of inflation, food inflation that is, and the difficulty that Nigerians are facing, why, as a stakeholder, do you think this is happening?
All right, David. So if I get your question right, you're asking me why
are we seeing these trends?
This inflation.
Yes.
Why is it here? So this is a very good question, and this is a pain point. So I'm definitely going to be speaking from
an agricultural perspective.
Yes, and someone who has an agri business, yes, and who finds a very, very solid pain point. I would say, for one, It's everything. Nigeria is going through a thorough inflation, so it's beyond food inflation. It has to do with logistics. It has to do with the fuel hike. It has to do with the power.
Well, how has it affected you as a practitioner specifically?
All right. My businesses are still farms, if I'll mention, and we grow crops on our farm. Last year, I was able to buy a bag of seeds, a sack of seeds, of ugu seeds. Let me give an example of ugu seeds for 100,000 naira. Now, ugu seeds are 450,000 naira for a bag. So this has affected me from growing the crops, even just in planting the crops, So the price of seeds as a farmer has spiked. It has increased. So it starts from even the outputs, So right from the outputs, as a farmer, to grow my crops, to just buy seeds, I don't think we should call farmers poor anymore. Farmers can't be poor anymore. Yeah. So just to even grow crops is pretty expensive. Aside from growing the crops to irrigate. A while back, I was running on just electricity on my farm. I have a large span of farm. I also have other partner farmers that I work with across Ikorodu, Lagos. And I was working with electricity to power my farm and, irrigation and all that. And then there was a hike of electricity and it ate up my entire profits. So I'm not even able to use fuel anymore. So I had to get new cash flow to power my farm. And then there was the high tariff in electricity. And so, I'm back to...
Became worse.
am I even making profits at all? And there's also logistics. We distribute across Lagos. There's the price of...
We're going to come back to some more of that.
Yeah.
Very quickly, let's go to Mr. Oladetan. Now, this phenomenon essentially is not new, as you were. We've been dealing with this for a long time, or for some time, as it were, and the government, being aware of it, have made concerted efforts to curb the situation. As a matter of fact, barely 2 months in, after the announcement of the removal of fuel subsidy and the difficulty started to hit, Mr. President announced, an emergency on food security. So far, a year later, if anything, it hasn't abated. What is the issue really, and why are we still seeing this?
Thank you very much. We've seen that the uptick in the Nigerian inflation started as way back in December 2022. As at that point in time, this is more or less like the 18th consecutive rise since December 2022. So it was something that was inherited by the current president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it has not stopped up to now. Basically, we could even see that the CBN was recording a month-on-month decline after increasing the monetary policy rate. Also was not the case in the month of June, because the monetary month-on-month rate increased from 2.14% to 2.31%, while the year-on-year inflation rate increased from 33.95% to about 34.19%. And that shows that there's something fundamentally wrong with Nigeria's inflation that the solution that the government is providing has not been able to address effectively. Let's look at Nigeria's inflation. Inflation could either be of a demand pull side or a cost push side. That is, could either be based on so much money in circulation or as a result of increase in the prices of goods and commodities. But for Nigeria's inflation, the central bank government have been trying to increase interest rate. Interest rate is currently at about 26.25%. The Monetary Policy Committee, chaired by the central bank governor, had no other cost than to increase those rates for them to be able to achieve that stem cell. But rather than that, abating the inflation, we've seen that inflation continue to grow. It's a pity that despite the fact that we have food inflation at 40.87%, the actual reality is not so. Some of these prices of goods and commodities, just like rightly said, have increased over 100%. We've seen these things also increase. Some of them have increased up to like about 160% to 200%. And that shows that the real issue is not being addressed. The president declared a state of emergency on food security, but farmers are not still able to go back to their farms. If the security issues as farmers not being able to visit their farms is not addressed, we will not be able to get we are not going to be able to get the right solution to this. Yes, the government has already said everybody should go back to farming. In fact, the First Lady is trying to tend some gardens within the presidential villa in Aso Rock. We've seen that the government have been able to reduce the cost of tariffs or the cost of duties for imported food, but that is not sustainable for the nation. We cannot continue to import and import. If we continue to import food and commodities just like that, there's going to be we're going to have a crippled effect on the naira devaluation. For example, we've seen that despite the purchasing power parity, when we benchmark Nigerian prices of goods and commodities to that in other markets, is below 1,000. The foreign exchange is trading currently at above 1,600, which is at the official market rate, even though central bank has decided to offer to bureau the change at about 1,450. So when we look at this side, Nigerian inflation is more of a supply side inflation or more of a cost push inflation.
Thank you for that,
Oluwatosin. More of a cost push inflation than a demand pull inflation that the CBN is trying as much as possible to provide solution to. So what our advice is that the government really needs to address the core issues, address the issue of food insecurity, address the issue of farmers being able to go back to their farms. We've seen that the landing cost of petrol is about 1,117 naira, and this price of petrol is still sold below within 600 to 700 thereabout. The government recently passed is passing an amendment budget to be able to address the issue of minimum wage in Nigeria, which is a supplementary budget to increase that. That is also going to lead to a lot of money in circulation. If the core issues of Nigerians' food inflation is not addressed, I don't think we are going to get a solution everywhere. If you look at the split of the contributors to the major drivers of inflation, we've seen that food and non-alcoholic beverage is contributing about 17.71%, having the highest contribution since December
Oluwatosin,
2022, which
yes,
has
I
been the
understand what
area
you were
of
saying.
focus
Thank you
for the
very much for
inflation.
going
Thank
in
you.
depth into the causes of this food inflation. Yes, you've done very well for us on this. But yeah, okay. Before I go further on this discussion with you now, what are the implications of this food inflation, particularly for businesses and for those in the food processing and manufacturing sectors? The implications.
So the implication is that the price of goods and food, most especially food, is going to increase. But if the prices of food continue to increase and the remuneration of those people or the propensity to spend is not available, or the disposable income is not available for those, people are going to be looking for cheaper alternatives. If you look at the major drivers of the inflation, of the food inflation, we could see that the prices that recorded the highest increase was in that of millet, wogen, garri, guinea corn, yam, water yam, cocoyam, groundnut oil, palm oil, catfish, and sardine and mudfish. So if those things continue to increase and people do not have enough money to be able to spend, people are going to look for suitable alternatives for them to be able to consume. But for you to be able to provide a lasting solution to this, we cannot just leverage on reducing custom duties and import tariffs on food indices without addressing the root cause of allowing the farmers to be able to go back to their farms, addressing storage and distribution issues that is currently being experienced within the food value chain. We also need to be able to ensure that the government is able to leverage on the rail system to be able to move goods from the farms, directly from the farms down to the place of consumption. So, for example, you are taking a basket of tomatoes all the way from the north on a very bad road, and the trailers, some of them are going to get spoiled even before they even get down. And businesses need to be able to cover their costs. If you have bought everything for, let's say, 100,000 and about 40,000 worth got bad while in transit, that means I only have 60,000, and I still need to be able to use that 60,000 worth of goods to be able to cover the cost of the 100,000 that I've already spent, cover the cost of logistics, and also even make a profit. That's what we're going to see. We're going to be seeing something like a ripple effect on it. So the lasting solution I think the government can address is for them to be able to address farmers' insecurities, which is still a major issue in the planting within the areas, and also the issues of logistics, create more accessible road networks, try as much as possible to improve infrastructures and be able to aid effective distribution of these goods down to the place of consumption. If these are not being addressed, no matter what we do to import more food. Importing food is not sustainable for the Nigerian economy over the long term, and we're not going to be able to get away with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Oluwatosin. Yes, I understand everything you said, and these points that you raised are very, very important for us to know. But yes, mentioning the increase in the prices of the staple foods. Yes, so my colleague was at the market during the week, and she did a report on the increase in the prices of these food items. So let's take a look at that report right now.
In the last 1 year, Nigerians have experienced major discomfort due to high cost of living, especially when it comes to staple commodities like foodstuff. Traders and consumers alike have lamented the high price they have to pay to purchase these commodities. The markets are lively with trading activities on a daily basis. People are coming in and out to make one purchase or the other. But the underlying question remains, how have they managed to get by in the last 1 year? Data released from the National Bureau of Statistics has shown that the increase in the price of food inflation grew from 25.25% as of June 2023 to 40.87% by the end of June 2024. This change is attributed to the increase in the price of food inflation. Join me as I journey into Edo Market to inquire on the factor responsible for the increase in the price of food.
This is the asa. Igbo they call them asa. Yoruba they call them also. This is the mangala. Igbo they call them mangala. Hausa, Yoruba they call them ejakanu. And everything they cost now. Before we would buy the carton, but now everything they increase, then they go up. So we buy the carton almost 350,000, but now we buy a carton almost 735,000. No, I'm talking about this carton. That's small carton. That's 757,000, 755,000.
For which one? Is it the Hausa or the Mangala?
That's the mangala.
The Hausa
The asa, this is the carton. This you 243 naira, 243,000, 2.3 million. Yeah.
Wow, things are really cost these days, but no matter, the getting inside now, we just do it by as it reach. Not like before, and people is still buying, but like, you see these beans now, paint is 12K, and the game that we are getting inside now is not like before, but still going, still telling thanks to the Lord. As of last year, bag for rice now, rice is down. Rice, the price is not high, like as of last year. Like last year we sell rice 99, thereabouts, or it's even 100. But now bag of funny rice is sell like 75, 78, 80. Nigerian rice now and funny rice almost the same price. Difference of like 4,000 naira difference with funny rice. So instead of like some people will be like, they don't like to eat that funny rice because of the starch. They would like to buy this Nigerian rice. But the difference now is not much by the price.
Look at this one, 7,000. This one, 8,000 naira. Last year, this one no pass 2,000. True. Because this one, we don't want to say this one 8,000 naira. 7,500, 8,000. This one 6,500, 6,000, 7,000. That's what they said. But now, this one is 7,000.
The market is hard money. You had money 2 months, make you go help us. This our governors make you help us. Red oil, how much they buy and before? They buy red oil here, and they sell like 18. Now it don't be 26, 20, 25 liters. 5 liters now 6,000 into rubber. We bring rubber 5,500. Granite oil, they sell them 9,000. We bring rubber 8,500. The rago list 3,000. My wife they sell my own 2 ways one time. The palm oil they sell before and they sell 1,800 for the big one. Now it be 2,000. Small one 1,000. So it's good like and this year and now the same thing. The last year is still good past this year. It good past this year. This year it dey worst. They say I don't tell you now. They say 1,500 and they say 1,30. Now 2,000. Palm oil wey say now why now we dey find man wey dey come carry am 2,000 for palm oil, small one 1,000. It's too much now. Make the pity person wey no get money to buy am.
Many factors contribute to the increase in the price of food items. Some of these food items are staple food, which means they are consumed daily by many households. It is not a great time for both buyers and sellers as the bite itches. However, they hope for a better day. Amaka Opara, reporting for Silk News Television.
Welcome back to Market Insight. That was a report detailing what was happening, or what is happening currently in the markets these days. Now, let's come back to Oluwaseun, Obadan. By the way, we still have Oluwatosin Oladetan in the studio, with us virtually, albeit. But Oluwaseun is an architect and an agro entrepreneur. Now, earlier you were talking us through, or walking us through, some of the challenges you've faced in your business, occasioned by the current trend of inflation, or food inflation, as it were. But Oluwatosin earlier mentioned something about transportation and logistics, which you also attributed to earlier. However, I want to harp on the middlemen. Now, down the value chain, what role do they play, and what are the challenges from your end as the first man, so to speak, right, down the value chain to the final consumer? I had asked earlier about some of the challenges that you have faced as an entrepreneur, or as an agro entrepreneur, vis-a-vis middlemen down the value chain.
Yeah. Thank you very much, David. When I started Arso Farms, we started because we believe that food is medicine. And so we're on a mission to revolutionize how Africans consume vegetables. We make pre-cut veggies, superfood smoothies, superfood juices, and we have a variety of products we make from organically farmed vegetables. When I started initially, I had middlemen that would come on our farm and offtake our products. It wasn't working for me, because majority of the profits will go to the middlemen. They will come and dampen our prices. They can be very vicious at times, depending on who you're working with. But generally, that's how it is. And you would eventually hear that your vegetables or your products are going at way more higher prices. So I had to take matters into my hands and begin my own distribution. And what we do now is we distribute from farm to doorstep. So we have logistics channels that send all our goods from farm to our doorsteps. We also distribute even to retail channels like retail stores, Hartley's, One Source, Pick and Pay. We had to cancel the middlemen, because as a young entrepreneur in this time, if you have the middlemen still, you have to use technology. You have to incorporate technology to take out the middlemen, nice and easy, as most of the profits will eventually go to them and you'll be left with nothing.
Hey, okay, that must have been quite a challenging time when you had to engage with them.
Yeah.
Okay, now we saw from the reports that my colleague did when she was at the market that she spoke with traders concerning the prices of food items like beans, rice, different grains, and these food items were really expensive right now. Even things like palm oil, granite oil. Now, what advice would you give to families, particularly minimum wage earners, during this period of food inflation at 40%? Like, what would you recommend for them to cope to actually get nutritious food for their children at more reasonable prices? Or is it possible if they can start their own mini farm? I just want to get your thoughts on this.
Yes, thank you so much. This question is real because I heard a story of a lady who was feeding her child toaster biscuit and milk because she's not able to afford, staple foods, especially, and her child is 6 months, So this inflation definitely affects families, affects children, affects, it's insecurity. We are facing a serious time of food insecurity, and it's going to affect nutrition on a large scale, and it's so sad. It's going to affect children. What I would advise for us at Arso Farms, we work with local. We need to start eating local. Our local veggies they are drought resistant. And they are very good for the climes of Nigeria, of Africa. So we need to go back to local. We need to go back to our local foods. by next week Sunday, I'm taking a free class on gardening, because as you mentioned, the masses, how is it going to affect them? People need to start planting in their homes. We need to develop innovative systems whereby we can create more value-added products out of our local foods. Like for new, like ugu, what more can we create? We need to stop looking at exported products. Exported baby
Imported
food.
products, you mean?
Pardon me. Yes, imported products. Yes, and we need to start looking at innovation in our local foods. Everyone needs to be a farmer.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a proverb that says, "Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ ni iṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa." Yes.
And what does this mean?
It means that farming is in our blood, is in the bloodstream of every Nigerian. Yeah, so everyone needs to plant in recycled materials, plant at the back of your house, plant in bottles. We all need to get into farming. Yeah, so in Astro Farms, one of the things we're doing by next week Sunday is that we're holding a free class on gardening, learning how to garden herbs, we do little things like that, because we all need to get back to farming, and our soil is very arable and fertile. So everyone needs to get back to farming one way or the other.
Okay, well said. Thank you for that. Okay, now looking at this whole situation that has happened so far, first of all, let me take this to our guest virtually, Oluwatosin Oladetan. Are you here with us, Oluwatosin?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so to combat this food inflation right now, the government is planning to create a national commodities exchange board to review the prices of food items now. So do you think this will be an effective way to combat food inflation?
No, I don't think creating commodities exchange board will be able to combat food inflation. Even if I have a board and is regulating the prices, the government is going to come at one point in time and say they cannot continue to sustain the prices of those foods, or they cannot continue to sustain the subsidy. We saw that even just the increase in the minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000, government had to pass another supplementary budget for them to be able to absorb that cost. Meanwhile, the senators and those in the House of Assembly are not willing to put a cut on their total allowances. They're only willing to take 50% of their salary, which is not even up to 20% of the fraction of their total emolument, where you're looking at both their allowances and their salaries. So I think what the government really need to do, right, for them to be able to get the right solutions on this food insecurity, is for them to address insecurity issues, allow farmers to be able to go to their farms, reduce the risk of kidnapping at the farms, reduce the risk of which farmers are taking goods out of their farms and being handicapped and not being able to sell to the market. Rather than you just saying that you're going to continue to distribute grains or distribute those things, ensure that they get to the right farm so that it doesn't get to some places and these things that are being ordered are not being provided to the farmers. Ensure the farmers are able to have access to fertilizer. I think this is the right time for government to be able to even put a subsidy on fertilizers or to cultivate the right farming practices. Ensure that people are able to get to the farms. Ensure that the farmers are well equipped. They have the right knowledge. If it is too expensive for them to be able to go into mechanized farming, provide sustainable financing for them. Of course, we know that the monetary policy rate is currently at 26.25%. An average person taking a loan from a commercial bank or from a financing house need to be able to take that at about 35% upward. If these farmers are able to source fertilizer or source machines that is able to help them increase their yield on their farms at a single digit, or which is the benchmark inflation rate for Nigeria at 2015, I think that will be able to address the real issue. The more we continue to use a market to cut off the head simply because of an headache, we are not going to be able to get the best solution to it. The major solution that the government really needs to do within the short period of time, address the case of insecurity, let the farmers be able to go back to their farms, and also create a situation whereby it is easier for them to be able to take it from their farms down to the local consumers. So, for example, we saw that at one point in time that Lagos State had a Lagos market where they were selling foods at a subsidized rate. That we saw that they could not continue to sustain that over a long period of time because the supply was weak. So, if the farmers are able to go back to their farms and plant appropriately, then we'll be able to get the best out of it. Thank you.
Hear me, Oluwatosin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. Just wanted to piggyback off of, your submission with regards to the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira. Now, a couple of administrations ago, two specifically administrations ago, back in 2011, it was 18,000 naira at the time. The exchange rate, I reckon, was about 150 naira to a dollar. Currently, it's a little over 1,500. Between then and now, if you do the mathematics, you would see that the wage is still within the 40, 41, 43 thereabout dollars as you were. So 70,000 naira equals $43 now and that time, even considering the fact that we had more purchasing power at the time. So not much particularly has changed when it was 30,000 naira and now that it's 70,000 naira, So with all of that, there is a doubt as to whether or not that 70,000 naira. And by the way, it's less than a bag of rice. So putting all of that into perspective, there is a worry that it would, constitute a strain on some private businesses who might struggle to pay, which would in turn, or we could in turn, lead to, more people being pushed back into the unemployment market. What do you reckon?
So the unemployment has been increasing. Several issues. We saw a lot of manufacturing companies close down their businesses last year as a result of the devaluation of the naira. In fact, some of the foreign investors that we've been able to get into the Nigerian space within Q1 are also beginning to pull back simply because it is not sustainable for them to be able to continue to invest and get those particular returns as the foreign exchange continue to devalue on a year-on-year basis. Now, 70,000 naira is not is the worst of the 30,000 we were as at the point in time when the 30,000 was even agreed, which we rightly said. If we are divided by 1,500, that's just like about $46, which is not even able to get a cup of coffee in some prestige locations within the other clients. In fact, in some other areas such as Singapore and the rest, the cost of you even barbing your hair or even having a haircut is much more than the minimum wage someone earns in a month in Nigeria. So, as regards, despite that, some government parastatals, such as the state and local government, are also saying that they are not even able to do it. Even as at 30,000, some local government and some state governments were not even be able to pay that 30,000, and they were still even owing for several months. Now, if you have a case of 70,000 being the issue, I think what can even make the 70,000 a good fit? If the government can incentivize more incentives for them to be able to have the foreign exchange relatively stable. If the foreign exchange is able to come to about 750 thereabout, I think that is going to double the the position of the dollar when you want to cut it off when you want to translate it to the
Oluwatosin,
foreign currency.
yes.
So, but I think 70,000
Can you hear me,
naira, the only way
Oluwatosin?
forward is for them to be able to do. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you just pause your thoughts on that briefly, please? Just before we round up the program, I just want to pass this question to our guest in the studio right now. Then I'll get back to you shortly now. Okay. Yes. So Oluwaseun, now this issue. Yes, I understand you are an agro entrepreneur. Now, how can we as Nigerians address the issue of food waste? And in some areas, food waste is as high as 50%. So, what role can technology play to address the issue of food waste? Because I remember when you mentioned that things like food tomatoes, if there's bad road, bad infrastructure, the farmer might lose some of this product. So how do we address this issue of food waste? Very briefly before we end the program.
All right. So one of the ways we can address the issue of food waste is by innovation and technology. Innovation and technology play a very good part in addressing it. I'll give you a very valid example. At Arso Farms, we export dehydrated vegetables to businesses across the world, and this is one way, with our dehydrated vegetables, our vegetables are able to last a span of 6 months to 1 year, so that's one way. So value addition is the way, what new thing can we do? I know it's very easy for us to talk about power. Power is a major issue, and talk about cold storage, and these issues are real. However, they are long-standing issues, and we don't really see so much happening. So why don't we, think in innovation and add more values to this product so that they have longer shelf lives? So that's one of the ways that we can, how about we start creating tomato powders and, different things like that, have a greater shelf life. That's one of the ways we can do that.
Okay, thank you for that, Oluwaseun. I would like to thank my guest this morning. That's Oluwatosin Oladetan, who joined us virtually, and Oluwaseun Obadan, who joined us right here in the studio. Many thanks for your time on today's episode of Market Insight. It's been a great pleasure having you both on this program to share your insights on the challenges of the food inflation and solutions to these challenges. Many thanks for watching the program. Now let's look at the foreign exchange rates this week. So today is Friday, so we focus on the selling rate of the naira compared to the dollar this week, just from Monday to Friday. So on Monday, that's the CBN rate. On Monday, the naira was selling at 1,515 naira to $1. And on Tuesday, it was the same price, 1,515 naira to $1. On Wednesday, it was 1,500 naira to $1. It reduced on Wednesday. And on Thursday, it increased to 1,530 naira to $1. And on Friday, it also increased. It was the same price, I beg your pardon, 1,530 naira to $1. So that's our foreign exchange rate this week. And in addition, we also have the prices of our food items this week for our viewers to know how much our staple food items are going for. Food items like tomatoes, a basket of tomatoes. Yeah, those are our food items right now, rice and beans. These are the prices of our food items for this week.
Many thanks for watching Market Insights today. We do appreciate that you spent this time with us. Until next time, stay tuned to Souk News Television. I am David Chiedu, and signing out also is my co-anchor.
I am Lavina Emma. Many thanks for watching this episode of Market Insights.